This day, though, we are post recording last week, which was just moments before AEW Dynamite, in which saw MJF's title run, as kind of a little bit predicted here on the show, come to an end after 45 days. And Kenny Omega has returned to the top of AEW after many years being away from the title scene. He is once again the champion. There is another pay-per-view coming up next week, and there hasn't been any indications Kenny Omega, MJF's involvement yet. Obviously, we're recording this before yet another Dynamite episode. But what did you make? Was that I know July, it's early, but, the MJF Kenny Omega match to main event Dynamite last week, was that the match of the month? Was that the match of the season, if you will, in pro wrestling? Are you excited to see Kenny Omega back on top, as you predicted?
I mean, it was a good match. I wouldn't say it was like match of the month or match of the year. I mean, I thought it was good for what it was. I mean, I thought the finish was. I enjoyed the finish. That was my favorite part, of that match. I liked having Will Ospreay involved. I thought that was a good added element. So I will give AEW credit there. I thought that was the best way for storytelling. I got and me, I've always given AEW a lot of flack for maybe not having the best stories, but whoever wrote the finish for that, I'm not sure who it was. Don't have any inside information on that one, but whoever did, hell of a job. It was a great finish. I enjoyed the fact that MJF was trying to do all these dirty things that he's always won these matches from, and Will Ospreay was the one who assisted in a dirty way, in a dirty finish, to have MJF lose his title to Kenny Omega. So I thought that was I enjoyed that. It was definitely. I don't watch AEW regularly. I tune in, tune out. I just just the way schedules are and the way things go. I keep up with the product enough to know what's going on, and it was for what it was, a good match. And then also, like I predicted, Takeshita Fletcher, best match of the night in my opinion. I actually had a friend that was there. It was down in the St. Pete area there. Mm-hmm. And caught the show. Said it was a great show all around. And I have to agree. I thought from what I got to watch, I didn't get to watch the entire show, but from what I was able to see, because I had to kind of tune in and tune out. From what I did see, it was a good night. It was a good night of wrestling. And back to the main event, it was a great way to finish off a really good Wednesday night last week.
Are you good with AEW doing a little bit of a change recently, with the sense that since WrestleMania, which like that week specifically, and that's good on AEW because look at me, I'm remembering when it happened because exactly it happened WrestleMania week. But are you good with just a few days before WrestleMania? So late April, Darby Allin becoming champion, then MJF winning it at Double or Nothing in late May, and now here in early July, Kenny Omega. Are you okay with these title changes? In the world of professional wrestling, we've seen a lot of Roman Reigns as of late, long, drawn-out title reigns between WrestleManias and between All-Ins and things like that. Are you okay with kind of the hot potato of the belt as of late in AEW?
Yeah, I think it's different than. I think different than is better than being the same as compared to WWE. I will say, and I think I kind of alluded to that last week on the pod, mm-hmm. where obviously we recorded, but our episode was released after Dynamite. But we were recording before, and I had a feeling because of the recent title change in WWE that I felt like that was more a precursor, not necessarily tied together, but I felt like if we were going to get a title change in AEW, it was going to be off the heels of a WWE title change. So I kind of felt that. But I do like the fact that they're being different than, more so in the last handful of years. WWE, like you mentioned, Roman Reigns had that crazy long title reign. I don't even remember the number off the top of my head, but it was a ton. It was multiple years. That's all I can remember is multiple years. But you got to be careful with the hot potato, because then it makes AEW feel like they don't have a dominant champion because you're just passing it back and forth. It's like passing the baton.
But that can also be good, right? To not have a dominant. You don't always have to have a Roman Reigns. But you can have a company where it is interesting of like who is the best, and that's again I talked about it before.
Is it good for business to? I'm not saying they're doing it this way, but like every 3 to 4 weeks we have a new champion. Like, to me, I feel like it takes away from the champion, so to speak. I'm not saying you have to do one title change a year kind of a thing. Like, mm-hmm. even if you go, I don't know, maybe a quarter of the year, and like every quarter, we have the 4 seasons weather-wise mm-hmm. here in Central New York. maybe not go carbon copy, but in a way like, okay, this person holds the title for 3 months.
I think, like you said, though, to kind of lead off the segment, you did say, it's different and it's better to be different. And,
It
we've had a
is.
lot of times where there's title. I think, as somebody who grew up in the, time of the early 2000s and late 90s of WWF, which I'm not saying that that should be like that all the time, but for that short span of time, there was hot potato with the belt and kind of who's on top and a lot of people chasing it in multi-man matches. And yes, they got out of that because that day came to an end and they move on to different things. So AEW never really had that day in the past. So maybe it is okay to kind of have a segment here where we aren't just 45-minute marathon matches with the champion always, putting on the top, being, this huge guy who's going to defend the title every week on Dynamite
But
against nobodies
do
and
you want to
always
see
win
it
until
though?
it's double or nothing.
Every 4 to 6 weeks, do you want to see a title change? Because I think it's okay in the short term, but I don't think that should be your business model
Mm-hmm.
going like forever. Like I feel like you got to keep the fans on their toes. Like maybe AEW's the trick to it is maybe for a while you'll see this hot potato portion, and then Tony Khan finds, he has somebody, he's like, all right, we got to switch gears because now we're getting a little predictable. Maybe Tony Khan zeroes in on, a Kyle Fletcher or Takeshita. I'm just throwing those names out because, they always put on great matches, in my opinion. Maybe they zero in at some point and say, that's the dominant guy right there. That's the guy that I think could carry us for 6 to 8 months instead of 6 to 8 weeks. I feel like that could be and that's the other.
But
That's
it's
the
fun
other.
in trying to find out who that could be and kind of testing out
Maybe
the
that's
waters with
maybe
a few
that's what
different
it
people.
is. Maybe they're doing that. Maybe they're doing this hot potato thing to get a feel for the audience, merchandise, all the whole picture to see, okay, where should we take this football and run down the field with?
I think we're getting Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay at All In as your main event. I think
Yeah, I agree.
that's maybe at this upcoming Redemption pay-per-view, maybe have a triple threat with Kenny Omega, MJF, and Darby Allin, the last champions. Similar to what we saw, at Night of Champions in the WWE world with all the people who were most recently involved in the title picture, kind of having some sort of scrum, and maybe that way Kenny Omega can get out of there still the champion and maybe set something up between Darby Allin and MJF in a non-title capacity. I mean, we'll see. I mean, there's another Dynamite coming up, like I said, kind of lead some of that up, but I don't mind kind of having a bunch of people involved. It does kind of in the WWE world, which we watch the most of, sometimes it is exciting when, you think you're getting this, but then there's somebody else who's like, wait, what about me? And you're like, and what about him? And then, so it adds more elements to that story. I mean, obviously it goes all the way back to the time when I thought that, why did we have Cena versus Rock 2 when we could add Cena versus Rock versus Punk? In a triple threat match so that it's Cena and Rock and their story. But Punk's got his own story and he's interjecting himself and saying, I get your romance, but don't forget about me. I'm the champion involved in all of this. And then Cena's like, hey, we're kind of got something going on here. Why don't you stay out of it? And then similar to what we kind of got with that tag team match at WrestleMania 40, right? Where it was going to be Roman versus Rock and it was set. And then Cody Rhodes interjecting himself as the Royal Rumble winner, the odd man out, the nobody in this blockbuster match. And then Seth Rollins is like, hey, don't do that to Cody Rhodes. You know what I mean? And then like all of a sudden we've got a bunch of people involved in what was traditionally just I'm the best, you're the best, let's see who's the best, to interject some other side players to add more levels and layers to the story. And I think Darby Allin really did that really well because MJF is championship material. Kenny Omega's championship material. But Darby Allin kind of sliding in there as the Sami Zayn, I guess, in AEW as of late, showing like, hey, I'm pretty good. And oh, by the way, like while you guys are focused on being who's number one and who's number two, number three is going to come in and steal your girl. That kind of thing. So that is an intriguing part. And well, I guess by next week we'll have some of these answers questions. We keep recording before Dynamite, so we'll have to figure out if anything changes. But Kenny Omega, the new AEW champion for the first time in a while, you kind of forget because AEW, as we saw with Hangman Adam Page return this past week on Collision, you forget that they do this thing where people get involved in the title picture. They are the main people, and then when they get out, they kind of are like, well, we can't have you in the title picture for a long time now. We got to when you come back, you can't even be involved.
And to be fair, though, Kenny's been dealing with a lot of medical issues. So I mean, that's part of the reason why I feel like it's been so long because if he was at where he was before all the medical issues and all that stuff, he probably would have been champion a time or two in between all those medical issues. I'm just glad he's back because he's. I mean, watching that match just last week it was good to see him in a great match and healthy because he's been not so healthy the last few years. So I'm happy to see him.